Yo, welcome to Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Roach, along with my partner, Mr. Adi Wally. Today we got a special type of show for you today. We are talking about the longest NFL playoff victory droughts. And we got two special guests in the building. We got my main man, the regular Mr. J Knight on here. We got my man, Coach Floyd in the building to help us talk about why these teams have not won a playoff game in so long. So it's been some teams, it's the teams that's been in the dwelling. The cellar for a long time. Do you think they get good, then it just don't happen. And they go, and next thing you know, it's 5 years, it's 10 years, it's 15 years, 20 years, then it's damn near 30 years. And they still haven't won a playoff game. So we got three teams, so I'm gonna start with you, Adi. The one team that hasn't won a playoff game since 2000 is the Miami Dolphins. Talk about the Miami Dolphins not winning since 2000.
Well, yeah, the Miami Dolphins, they have the third longest drought, playoff win drought, the third longest in the NFL, all right? So, former Bears head coach Dave Wannstedt's 2000 Miami Dolphins, they had the number 9 overall pick in this year's draft. They had his father, Patrick Surtain II's father, was the quarterback, starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. They also had the 5-time All-Pro linebacker, Zach Thomas, and they had the 4-time Pro Bowl cornerback, Sam Madison there, and also the Hall of Fame defensive end, number 7 all-time in sacks, Jason Taylor, on the squad. Going against a few Hall of Famers, all right? Going against Marvin Harrison, Edgerrin James, and Peyton Manning's Colts in the wild card game. Now, the Miami Dolphins, they was down 14-0 at halftime of their game, but they fought their way all the way back with 40 seconds to go in the game, down 17-10 in the red zone at the 9-yard line, and then Dan Marino, he wasn't there. No Dan Marino, he retired right before that season began. But they had Jay Fiedler.
Jay Fiedler,
he threw the touchdown pass to the tight end, Jared Weaver, to force overtime. And the Colts kicker, Mike Vanderjagt, he attempted a game-winning 49-yard field goal wide right.
He Vanderjagted off, huh?
Yes, he did. And Jay Fiedler marched the Dolphins all the way down the field into the red zone, hands it off to Lamar Smith, runs up the middle, bounced it outside to the 5-yard line, gets hit by the DB, drug him into the end zone, game over. Lamar Smith, the man had 209 yards rushing. That's number 3 all-time in NFL history. He had a killer game, but in the very next week, they played against Tim Brown, Charles Woodson, Rich Gannon, and the Raiders, and they got annihilated 27-0. But that's your 2000 Dolphins. That's the last time they won a playoff game.
Yeah, that's. I didn't realize till we started when you brought the show. I didn't realize they really beat Peyton Manning and the Colts.
That was a young Colts.
Jim Moore was Jim Moore Senior. Who am I saying?
Jim Moore, the man that was like playoffs.
Yeah, playoffs. It was their coach. So that was pretty interesting.
That was a young coach.
Yeah, y'all ain't thoughts on that?
Playoffs? You kidding me?
He broke it down.
Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Detailed explanation.
So, Adi, why haven't they made the playoffs? I mean, not made the playoffs. Why haven't they won a playoff game since the 2000?
Well, yeah, they haven't won a playoff game since 2000. Well, let's go back to 2002, okay? In 2002, the Miami Dolphins traded their 2002 first-round pick and their 2003 first-round pick to the New Orleans Saints for Ricky Williams.
Wow.
They traded for Ricky Williams. Now, Ricky Williams had a marvelous 2002 season in Miami. He led the NFL in rushing. He was an all-pro with 17 touchdowns, 4.8 yards per carry. But in the very next season, defenses began to stack the box against Jay Fiedler, okay? And his Ricky Williams' efficiency dropped 3.5 yards per carry in 2003. And 11 days before training camp for the 2004 season, Ricky Williams retired at the age 27, okay?
Yep.
Now, he did come back in 2005, wasn't that effective? And in 2006, he was suspended for an entire year for smoking marijuana. All right, he was getting high on the weed. So they suspended him, Came back in 2007, out for the year with an injury, and he missed the entire 2007 season. So that trade set them back. Now, if you want to fast forward to 2016, the Miami Dolphins hire Adam Gase, the quarterback whisperer, okay? So you get my man Tannehill. He's supposed to help out Ryan Tannehill, but by 2018, Tannehill was getting sacked 3 times a game. Among starting quarterbacks, he was the worst in passing yards per game. And so they ended up firing Adam Gase after the 2018 season. They traded Tannehill and a 6th round pick to the Tennessee Titans for a 4th and 7th round pick. And now Ryan Tannehill has more playoff wins than the Miami Dolphins have in the last 21 seasons. Okay, so there you go for Miami, man.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, in the NFL, the one thing, it seems like the quarterback position has failed them. They never was able to find that guy, and then amongst that time, they've had some talented players come through Miami, but I guess they've never been able to find it out. Coach, the Detroit Lions have not won since 1991, when the great Barry Sanders was dominating the NFL right now. Talk about the 91 Lions.
So 1991, we have them with Eric Kramer. Eric Kramer, we all know him as the great Chicago Bears quarterback.
Yeah, great season. Great season.
Great Chicago Bears quarterback. 91, they were able to beat the young Aikman, the young Emmitt Smith, the young Michael Irvin. But that was the last loss that those Dallas Cowboys was going to have in the playoffs for a long time. That team consisted of Eric Kramer, as I said. It was Barry Sanders. It was Barry Sanders all day. Eric Kramer was always able to make throws. The game wasn't even close.
Yeah, it was
the game wasn't even close. It was NFC divisional round, but they went on and they got smoked the next week. And as they lost in 91, once again, they have not won since. The Lions is a team in the last 64 years that was their only playoff win. Their only playoff win. And the Lions team has just been known as not just one of the worst franchises in the NFL. Some people have labeled them as one of the worst franchises in professional sports. Wow. I said it's been 4 teams in the NFL that has not made the Super Bowl, and those are the Jaguars. The Jaguars didn't come to 1995. Those are the Houston Texans. They didn't start to 2002. And the Cleveland Browns, which the Cleveland Browns been there, but they took a 3-year hiatus from 96 to 99, where they didn't even have a team. So these Detroit Lions have just been the definition of mediocrity, and that 91 team is the highlight of their existence, beating Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin, the young Cowboys.
That's crazy. 1 playoff win in 64 years. Wow. What was the name of the coach? Wayne Fontes. Wayne Fontes, yes.
Wayne Fontes was the coach.
They had Herman Moore. I think he was a rookie there. He was a rookie there. They had Willie Green at receiver.
Herman Moore was a monster.
They had Chris Philbin at linebacker. So they had a nice little squad.
They had a chance, I think, when Stafford when they had Megatron. They had a couple good seasons. They made the playoffs, but they ran up.
They made the playoffs a few years. Actually, one year they had 11-5 year in the NFC North, I almost said Central, and that was the NFC Central back then. So they did win the division with 5 teams. The Buccaneers was in there.
That game against the Cowboys, that was the game when Barry Sanders had that incredible touchdown on it. 27-yarder when it looked like
he shook the mess out of dude. Like
number 75 was looking around like he disappeared, like he teleported.
That's Tony Sis.
He turned
them. That was just Barry Sanders is still to me one of the most entertaining running backs I've ever seen in my life. He was must see TV. So. But yeah, the Lions had a couple chances with Stafford, Megatron. A lot of people think they ended up playing the Cowboys again. It was some phantom pass interference call that happened. with Tony Romo, and they ended up winning that game. So I mean, they had their chances. They lost to the Saints. With the Saints was just incredible at that time. That's when the Saints. Drew Brees was in the prime of his career, you know. So and that was, I mean, so they've been there, but yeah, it's been a struggle.
So in those, since that 91 team, I give 3 reasons why they just been terrible. And the 3 reasons is 3 players. Obviously, you talked about Barry Sanders, known as probably one of the greatest running backs ever. As we know, he retired at the age of 30. At the time, he said he just did not have the passion. Later on, he came out and co-authored a book, and he admitted that he was just tired of playing for a franchise that did not want to win. So he retired in his prime. Wow. The second reason they have been just a terrible franchise is somebody named Matt Millen. Matt Millen was the GM.
That's when he drafted.
Matt Millen was the GM of the Detroit Lions. And just to give you some of his first round draft picks when he became the GM, start off with Joey Harrington, Charles Rogers, Roy Williams, Mike Williams, Ernie Sims, and then he hit the jackpot with Calvin Johnson. He finally got it right after 7 years. And so if you were to have draft after draft after draft where you in the top 3 and the top 4, that means you are terrible year in, year out. So I say the first one was Barry Sanders retiring early. Second one was Matt Millen. That just was years. They still are suffering for some of his mistakes. And the third is, once again, they had a Hall of Fame player that retired at the age of 30 named Calvin Johnson.
Wow.
So they've had 2 players that just retired during their prime. And Calvin Johnson actually retired, but he was considering coming back. But the Lions franchise made him mad when they made him pay back $1.6 million of his signing bonus. And so from there, he has admitted later that he would never even want to associate himself with the franchise. So it's just been years and years of just mediocrity, from players getting upset with the management, players getting upset with the GMs, and now it don't look no better.
I got a 4th reason for you though, and Roach mentioned it. I'm going back. It goes back to Dallas, all right. In the 2014 playoffs, okay. Detroit, they got a 20-17 lead. It's in the middle of the 4th quarter. They're at midfield, all right. 3rd and 1. Play action pass, Matthew Stafford. Those are to his tight end, Brandon Pettigrew. Now the Cowboys linebacker, what's his name? Anthony Hitchens. He's face guarding. He's face guarding the tight end. He's not playing the ball. He's making contact before the ball arrives. Obvious pass interference. The ref actually throws the flag. And then later on, they pick up the flag. And after that, the whole momentum swings. Dallas rise for a touchdown. And then, you know, the Lions get the ball back, they don't score, and everything. Now, if the refs didn't cheat them that game, maybe Megatron stays around longer. You know what I'm saying? I think that play, that picking up the flag, to me, I think that's the main reason. That's a huge reason why he didn't win another play.
And if you want to go to specific games, if we go back to Paul Ettinger.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Ettinger eliminated them as they were a lock to make the playoffs one year. And Paul Ettinger, week 17, hit the overtime field goal, and they didn't even make the playoffs.
Put them out the playoffs.
So
I remember that.
And Paul Ettinger was a Detroit fan from Michigan State.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's a couple games where they definitely had the worst luck in the world. And it's great to see our Chicago Bears put somebody out even though they weren't going to make the playoffs.
Hey, listen, I'm as Bears fan, not listening to the stories of the Miami Dolphins and Detroit Lions, I don't feel so bad no more. maybe I'm taking the Bears for granted. So we already talked about 2 teams that's been terrible for a long time: the Miami Dolphins and Detroit Lions. And it gets worse. It gets worse. Jay Knight, talk to us about the Cincinnati Bengals. Not since 1990.
Drought made me thirsty.
Long time.
I got these need some lotion too. That's a long time. So first of all, let's harken back because unlike the other losers we're talking about, Cincinnati was very good. Under Forrest Gregg, they lost to the 49ers that started that dynasty. Then they lost to the 49ers again in an epic game with Sam Weiss, the head coach, in 1988.
Yep.
So they had a young nucleus, which is similar to what they have now, with a lot of star power, great quarterback, great receivers. Eddie Brown, Tim McGee, Chris Collinsworth was on his last leg in '88. And then they had, great backfield. They had Ickey Woods. They had James Brooks. They had it all. But they lost Tim Krumrie in the Super Bowl. They had David Fulcher at safety. They drafted Ricky Dixon from Oklahoma. And it looked like they had a team ready to, be at the top for years. And then after '88, injuries and playing with injuries, Ickey Woods got hurt. They had a losing season. In '89. In 1990 was their last run in the playoffs. And they went against Houston Oilers. Now, Houston Oilers had a backup quarterback or somebody who should have been selling insurance. They won 41-14. Then they lost to Jay Schroeder and the Raiders 20-10. Since then, though, from 2005 through today, from 2005 through 2015, they were in the playoffs 7 times. Marvin Lewis was the head coach. And one of the things to think about with the franchise, a couple things to think about, historic franchise. And they were just snake bitten. One of the worst injuries ever in football was Carson Palmer hurt his knee against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were up, hurt his knee, they lose that game to the Steelers. Horrific injury, sad, and it was just one of those bad plays that happened. Marvin Lewis and the Bengals were in a division that had Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 Super Bowls. Baltimore Ravens, 2 Super Bowls. So they were in a very good division. Plus the Browns weren't a bad team when they were, when they were around originally. So they were in a competitive division. They weren't good enough necessarily to get to the top. It was a dogfight. It was a black-blue division. And they could never get that number 1, number 2 seed. So they never got that playoff bye, got to play against weaker teams. Never got that home playoff game. And they just could not get over the hump. But it wasn't for lack of talent. They had Carson Palmer, Chad Ochocinco, they had Hushmanzada, they had a very good defense, and they've had great teams. Now, if you want to place blame on the last 7 years, the Browns have run a tight ship, have run a cheap ship, and haven't been the best family with running an organization. The NFL has actually looked at times into taking away some power from the Brown family because the way there's a lot of nepotism within the organization and the way that they tend to make all their calls and don't necessarily look for help outside the family. At the Marvin Lewis, there have been some coaching changes. They couldn't necessarily find a great quarterback after Carson Palmer, who was a quasi Hall of Fame player with the stats he put up, just like with Chad Ochocinco. So they could never get back to those Marvin Lewis teams that they had between 2009 and 2015. So they can never get back there. And once again, sometimes when you play against great teams and great divisions, it's not all, it's just you're a victim of happenstance. And that's how I look at it. But looking at other things to consider, once Sam Weiss retired, once injuries hit, they were on a downward spiral for some years. They lost Boomer Esiason was at that time the best quarterback besides Ken Anderson in franchise history. So there was some time that they needed to get the talent back. They had some losing seasons. They did not make the playoffs from 1990 to I believe 99. So almost a 2-year drought. And then Marvin Lewis started to turn that ship around, but he couldn't get over the hump. And fans are short from fanatics. They get coaches fired, they get GMs fired, they get players traded. And that's what happened. Drum beats were louder. There were some personnel issues. There were some off-the-field issues. And the Bengals that had a pretty good nucleus that was getting older and fans became tiresome of their act, lost everything. And that's where they are at today. But one thing I will say that has hope for my home state Bengals is the fact that they do have a young nucleus. They have 8 players under the age of 26 on offense, led by Joe Burrows, who was a lead candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year. They have a young receiving core, which you need in today's game, with Jamar Chase.
That was a good time.
With Higgins, with Mixon, with Boyd. They have a young offensive line. You need to protect that quarterback. With Jackson Carmen, they just got this year, Fairfield, Ohio, which is right outside Cincinnati, Jonah Williams, Michael Jordan from Ohio State, Hart from Michigan. So they got a young offensive line, and they could be like the next Chiefs offensively with what they have from a weapon standpoint. They don't have a pass rush, young defense, but not elite. So it reminds me, you can kind of draw the parallels to what the Bengals were in the late 80s and early 90s that got them to the playoffs and to the Super Bowl to the day. So there is some hope for Bengals fans. It's not dire straits. Young coach, remains to be seen what he can do as a coach. That's the only thing. There hasn't been a lot of coaching. Marvin Lewis was there for a long time. He had coaching stability, but didn't have the wins. Lately, just hadn't had the right coach. Yeah. So we'll see if we got the right fit.
You being from Ohio, was you a Bengals fan or a Browns fan?
No.
Neither?
I was a Browns fan. Became a Steelers fan for a while. Steelers hired a coach I don't like, so I'm back on the Browns.
Yeah, so you brought up some good points about the Bengals. I guess the questions we didn't get to y'all. He brought up a good point about the Bengals today. What do you think about Miami today and going forward?
Miami going forward. Well, you know what? I like their defense. They was #1 last year in takeaways. They was #4 in points allowed. The defense is really good. They took the boy Jalen Phillips from Miami, the Hurricanes, the edge rusher. Now, me personally, I like the kid, but I want them to take Najee Harris or Travis Etienne from Clemson as a running back, because I'm not sold on Miles Gaskin as their lead back. And I think they should have really looked out for Tua in the first round of the draft. Try to get him a running game to take the load off him. Because the defense was already stacked. They was top 5 in the NFL. And
defense is loaded.
Now they make it even more loaded. But I still feel like they should have looked out for my man Tua. So I think the drop's going to continue. Even if they could make the playoffs, but they would have to go. They're not going to win the division with the Buffalo Bills. And so you got the Chiefs. You got the Baltimore Ravens and stuff like that. I don't think they'll beat them in the wild card game. And so I think the drought is going to continue for a few more years.
Going to continue with the Lions?
Yes, it's going to continue. I think the Lions right now is one of the worst teams in the NFL. Okay. They made a huge trade. They got rid of Stafford, but they was able to get some draft picks from the Los Angeles Rams. So Jared Goff is their quarterback right now. They did
golf.
they did draft. They did have a good draft last year, where they was able to pick up the corner. I want to say from Ohio State. They was able to pick up. He was
Matata.
Yeah, he had some injuries, but we know he could be a solid player. And they drafted one of my favorite players coming up this year, fantasy lovers, DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift will have an amazing year, but I still think the Lions don't have enough. They had a coaching change. They got rid of the Patricia. Just to tell you how bad the Lions are, there's this quarterback from North Carolina. He wears number 10. He's in Buffalo now. Had his 4 of his best games against the Detroit Lions. I don't know if we're allowed to say his name.
Hall of Fame numbers against the Lions.
I don't know if we're allowed to say
Mitch Trubisky.
We all felt so confident and felt so good when Mitch was playing against the Lions.
He put up numbers on that.
Because he loved playing the Detroit Lions. They would not get out that man coverage. But that's Patricia's gone. They have a new coach, Dan Campbell. He had a press conference where he talked about biting knees and talking about getting up and getting back down. Didn't win many people over at that press conference. Didn't sell me at all. One of my favorite, Colin Cowherd, always say you must win the press conference if you're going to be a great coach, and he did not win the press conference. So I think Detroit, not only will, like the Miami Dolphins, might make the playoffs, I don't even think they'll see the playoffs anytime soon in a division with Aaron Rodgers. Minnesota looks like they're going to be better, so they might be battling our Chicago Bears for number 3 in the NFC North.
So, and one team I want to say, I believe my boy Sean Wood, shout out, was started safety for the Dolphins. He was a former Bear too for the last playoffs. And so one thing I want to say is I think the Dolphins are in the best position to move forward. I like Brian Flores as a coach. I love the moves they've been making. They did bring over Malcolm Brown from the Rams, so they got a big back. They have enough at the running game. They brought over Fuller from the Texans, who's a deep threat. They have Jalen Waddle, who somebody Tua played with in college. So they have that connection. They have Parker. So they have Gesicki. I think could be an elite tight end, very athletic. They have a young team too. So we look down at it. They don't have any starters over the age of 28 on both sides of the ball.
Wow.
After they got rid of Van Noy, they don't have any starters over the age of 28. They have a young nucleus. The division's wide open. The Patriots aren't elite anymore. The Bills are the only competition they have. The Jets are going to be down for a little bit, even though they have a very good D line. So the Dolphins, it's there for the taking for the Dolphins. And when I look at the AFC, they're outside of the black and blue division of the NFC North. There's not a lot of great divisions where you have to worry about great teams. You have to worry about the Chiefs. You have to worry about the Bills. Browns are a good up and coming team. And also, you always have to worry about the Ravens. But if Tua develops, they can easily get the number 3 seed, have a home game, and if anybody's ever been to a Dolphins game, if it's one of those noon kickoffs, one of the greatest hustles ever is the sun is beating down on the opposition.
Yes.
And people never realize it, but the sun is beating down on the opposition, so you're baking in that Florida sun.
Yes.
Even if it's in December or January, it's still hot. It's a great home field advantage. You're in Miami, you're in South Beach. There's a big home field advantage. So I think the Dolphins in their playoff drought, sooner than later, probably in the next couple of years, if Tua can develop as a quarterback. If he doesn't, it's going to be up to management to usher in another quarterback in the next couple of years. But I think they're in a better place, obviously, than the Lions, and a little bit better place than the Bengals, who I think can be nipping at their heels as far as in the playoff drought. But I have to pick the Dolphins, I think, in the next couple of years if Tua develops in that playoff drought.
Yeah, the Bengals have the quarterback, so that gives you hope for the Bengals, because you're like, okay, Joe Burrow, I think, can be a really good quarterback, and that's maybe the most important position in football is you got that quarterback when you got that guy. But I'm with Jay Knight. The Dolphins are a very deep team. They have great defense. They have players everywhere. So I think, and they have talent, and I love Flores as their coach. I think they are improving, but it comes down to Tua. That's the key. If Tua can, not saying Tua has to be a Super Pro Bowl, All-Star, All-Pro quarterback. He just got to be able to make plays when they need him to make plays. The Dolphins got everything else. And it wouldn't be shocking to me if they give the Bills a run for their money in that division this year with all the talent they got. They got just as much talent as the Buffalo Bills. So I think I'm with Jay Knight. I like the Dolphins as the team that could break the barrier first. What you think, Adi?
Well, you know what? I'm going to disagree. I'm going with the Bengals. Okay. I think the Bengals will be the first ones. You got Joe Burrow. He's coming off the horrific ACL, MCL injury against the Redskins last year. And he got hit too many times last year. He was getting hit, sacked 3 times a game. The Bengals had the 6th worst. They allowed the 6th most sacks last year in the NFL. All right, but that's why I was shocked they didn't pick the left tackle, Penei Sewell, with the number 5 overall. But he went to the Detroit Lions. He fell to number 7 to the Lions. And they went with Jay Knight's favorite guy in the draft,
Jamar
Chase. They went in.
That's a bad boy. I like Jay. That's a bad. That's a bad dude. I'm telling you.
They had first-round pick Ronald Williams coming back from Alabama. They picked up Jackson Carman, who was a 5-star kid out of Fairfield, Ohio.
Right.
Who could be a very good right tackle, or they can slide him down to guard, depending. And they have guys like Michael Jordan from Ohio State. They have guys like Hart, former Wolverine, that can fill in so they have a versatile offensive line, and I think just getting Burrows comfortable with playmakers will give them also the ability to possibly trade Boyd and keep that young nucleus of receivers and get some draft picks.
T. Higgins at risk. Joe Mixon's very underrated running back, and so I think once and their defense was pretty bad last year. I think next offseason when they really solidify that defense, get the offensive lines, solid. I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals will be the first ones to break it over the Dolphins. I see the Dolphins losing, like going 1 and done in the playoffs.
I can see that. So we got the Dolphins, you got the Bengals. Tell me you finna pick the Lions. Do the Lions, can they be the first team? Can they break the playoff drought first?
Well, even though Jay Knight's talking about the core with the Bengals, and the Bengals do look like they have the most upside it's just going to be really difficult in that division, as Jay Knight alluded to.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of Tua. Too small.
Yeah.
Too small. Speaking that Aaron Rodgers may be leaving the division, and we're talking in the next 2 or 3 years, one of these 3 teams winning the playoff, I still won't give it to the Lions. I will not give. I said I won't give it to the Lions.
You won't. Oh, okay.
I think with the core, even though I'm not a fan of Tua, with the core that the Dolphins have, I think the Dolphins have the best chance of winning the playoff game. How in a tough AFC? I don't want to repeat some of the same things Jay Knight said, but I disagree with you. I don't think they could compete with the Buffalo Bills. Okay. I think the Buffalo Bills takes it to another level this year, but with a wild card and some luck here and there, I think right now, because the Bengals won't be making the playoffs no time soon, the Lions won't be making the playoffs. Well, the Bengals might make the playoffs in the next couple of years, but the Lions won't be there. I think the Miami Dolphins have enough talent to be in the playoffs for multiple years, and that might lead to at least a victory. It's been a long time, but the most upside I see out of these 3 teams is by far the Miami Dolphins.
And let's not forget, they made the playoffs last year, so they're the closest to make the playoffs. And all it takes, as seen with the last Bengals playoff game, all it takes is one injury to the quarterback and something happens. Yeah, you can win the playoff game.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this, man. I do want to mention about the Bengals, man. The meltdown at Paul Brown. Okay, 2015 playoffs when when Montez Burfict and Pac-Man Jones went crazy. In 2015 playoffs against the Steelers.
They had that game won.
They had that game won. Don't forget about Jeremy Hill fumbling the ball when what's his name? The linebacker from the Steelers hit him. Ryan Shazier forced a fumble, made Jeremy Hill fumble the ball, and then Pittsburgh drove down the field, and Antonio Brown gets a late hit on Montez Burfict, gave him a late hit, and then Pac-Man Jones tried to hit Joey Porter, the assistant coach for the Steelers, and pushed the ref, and then that was a 30-yard penalty, and then the Steelers won the game. So that's a huge reason why the Bengals did not win the game. That's why they didn't drought 2015 playoffs.
Yeah, well, that comes down. Some teams can keep their composure, some can't. Playoffs, I'm pretty sure. Like, I've never played in the NFL, but just watching those games, those look like the most intense games that you will ever see. So, and then I think a lot of teams have lost on emotion, and that was one time the Bengals. That's one time the Bengals have. So I mean, obviously these 3 teams have been bad, but we'll see what happens. I think the Bengals and the Dolphins look promising. I have no hope for the Lions. I have no hope. Like I know they got Jared Goff. I don't know what they're doing. I have no clue what's going on with the Lions. But
that's a good thing.
and I'm losing hope. I'm losing hope for Cincinnati. Okay, because Cincinnati has the longest playoff win drought in the NFL. Cincinnati also has the longest playoff series win drought in the MLB in baseball. The Cincinnati Reds. So Cincinnati, what the hell is going on? Let's get them an NBA team. Let's get them a Cincinnati NBA team. I don't know what we're going to call them so they can go on a drought to Cincinnati.
Hey, hold up.
The city of droughts.
At least Cincinnati won some baseball championships.
you can't just talk about Ohio State. He ain't having that. He not having that.
Pete Rose,
1990, one of the greatest teams ever.
That was a good team. That was a good team.
The Cincinnati they in a drought, man. They in a big drought right now.
They got 2 teams. They made 2 Super Bowls, 1 Playoff World Series. Let's get off this. Now Cincinnati is basically Kentucky, so I don't really claim it. But let's get off Cincinnati, so Ohio. Especially seeing this city had 180
Whoa. Wait a minute. All right. We done. We stop. We'll stop. Hey, this is Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Roach along with my partner, Mr. Adi Wiley. I want to send a thanks out to Mr. Coach Floyd, Jay Knight, about the longest drought. In the meantime, in between time, make sure you go on Spotify, check us out, go on YouTube, subscribe to the page, check us out on iTunes. In the meantime, we out. Peace.
Respect Ohio.
The Oakland Raiders. It's an unshakable commitment to excellence.